You're watching the History Fella channel. Please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, as all new subscribers really do help YouTube channels. In today's video, we're looking at John Caldwell Calhoun. John Calhoun was born on March the 18th, 1782, and would die on March the 31st, 1850. Calhoun was an American statesman and political theorist who served as the 7th Vice President of the United States from 1825 to 1832. Born in South Carolina, he adamantly defended American slavery and sought to protect the interests of white Southerners. Calhoun began his political career as a nationalist, modernizer, and proponent of the strong federal government and with protective tariffs. In the late 1820s, his views changed radically, and he became a leading proponent of states' rights, limited government, nullification, and opposition to high tariffs. Calhoun saw Northern acceptance of these policies as a condition of the South remaining in the Union. His beliefs heavily influenced the South's secession from the Union in 1860 and 1861. He was the first of two vice presidents to resign from the position, the second being Spiro Agnew, who resigned in 1973. Calhoun began his political career with election to the House of Representatives in 1810. As a prominent leader of the War Hawk faction, he strongly supported the War of 1812. Calhoun served as a Secretary of War under President James Monroe, and in that position reorganized and modernized the War Department. He was a candidate for the presidency in 1824, and after failing to gain support, Calhoun agreed to be candidate for vice president. The Electoral College elected him vice president by overwhelming majority. He served under John Quincy Adams and continued under Andrew Jackson, who defeated Adams in the election of 1828, making Calhoun the most recent U.S. vice president to serve under two different presidents. He had a difficult relationship with Jackson, primarily because of the nullification crisis and the Petticoat affair. In contrast with his previous nationalist sentiments, Calhoun vigorously supported South Carolina's right to nullify federal tariff legislation that he believed unfairly favored the North, which put him in conflict with Unionists such as Jackson. In 1832, with only a few months remaining in his second term, Calhoun resigned as vice president and entered the Senate. He sought the Democratic Party nomination for the presidency in 1844, but lost to surprise nominee James K. Polk, who won the general election. Calhoun served as Secretary of State under President John Tyler from 1844 to 1845, and in that role supported the annexation of Texas as a means to extend the slave power and help the settle of the Oregon boundary dispute with Britain. Calhoun returned to the Senate, where he opposed the Mexican-American War, the Wilmot Proviso, and the Compromise of 1850, before he died of tuberculosis in 1850. He often served as a virtual independent who variously aligned as needed with Democrats and Whigs. Later in life, Calhoun became known as the Cast Iron Man for his rigid defense of white Southern beliefs and practices. His concept of republicanism emphasized pro-slavery thought and minority states' rights as embodied by the South. He owned dozens of slaves in Fort Hill, South Carolina, and asserted that slavery, rather than being a necessary evil, was a positive good that benefited both slaves and enslavers. To protect minority rights against minority rule, he called for concurrent majority, by which the minority could block some proposals that it felt infringed on their liberties. To that end, Calhoun supported states' rights and nullification, through which states could declare null and void federal laws that they viewed as unconstitutional. He was one of the great triumphant, or the immortal trio of congressional leaders, along with his colleagues Daniel Webster and Henry Clay.